Welcome to the dark nights of Montana. Endless mountains, desolate plains, and a state filled with mysteries. But tonight, what I'm about to tell you are stories you'll never find in tourist brochures. Real events that happen in the dark corners of Big Sky Country. Stories people whisper about and can never forget. If you're afraid of the dark, you might want to turn on the lights now, because tonight, I'm sharing Montana's 3 most terrifying stories. And believe me, after hearing these, you'll never look at that state the same way again. Are you ready? Then let's begin. And remember, if you enjoy these true horror stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week I bring you chilling new stories. Story 1. The Lost Camp in Glacier National Park. It was July 2019. Sarah Mitchell, a 28-year-old nature photographer, decided to camp alone in Glacier National Park. Sarah was an experienced camper from Denver who wasn't afraid of being alone in the mountains. In fact, quite the opposite. She loved the solitude. She even left her phone at home, wanting to be completely alone with nature. Sarah had set up her tent near the Iceberg Lake Trail in the Many Glacier area, outside a permitted camping zone, in a more secluded spot. Though park rangers didn't recommend this, Sarah felt the risk was worth it to capture perfect shots. The first night, everything was normal. She photographed the stars, drank her hot soup by a small campfire, and wrote about what she'd seen that day in her journal. The second night, things began to change. Sarah was lying in her sleeping bag inside the tent, half asleep, when she heard a strange sound. At first, she thought it was an animal, maybe a deer or an elk, but as the sound continued, she realized this wasn't a normal animal sound. It sounded like a human, more precisely, like something imitating a human. The sound was slowly circling her tent. There were footsteps, but they were too heavy, as if a giant creature were walking. And then came that sound, a whisper. A human whisper, but at the same time not human at all. "Sarah," the voice whispered. "Sarah, come outside." Sarah's hair stood on end. How did this voice know who she was? Who knew she was here? She grabbed her flashlight, but was too scared to turn it on. She lay motionless inside the tent, holding her breath. Her heart was pounding wildly in her chest. "Sarah, I can see you." The voice had gotten closer. Now it was right next to the tent. And then the worst happened. Something touched the outer fabric of the tent, slowly, as if caressing it. Sarah pointed her light beam at the tent wall and felt an explosion of fear in her heart. Outside, on the fabric, was the silhouette of a giant hand. But this wasn't a normal human hand. The fingers were too long, abnormally long, and the nails looked sharp and curved. Sarah wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She just lay there, frozen, watching that thing circle her tent. After what felt like hours, but was probably just a few minutes, of silence, the sound left. The footsteps moved away, and the forest was plunged into silence again. Sarah didn't sleep at all that night. When she emerged from the tent at first light, there was nothing around. No footprints, no traces. But then she noticed something. Right next to her tent, in the dirt, there was something strange. A circle, about 2 meters in diameter, a perfect circle, and all the grass and plants inside the circle were dead, bone dry, turned black. Sarah decided to pack up and leave immediately. But as she was leaving, she noticed something else. On her tent's zipper, though nothing had entered from outside, there were 3 long scratch marks in the fabric, as if giant claws had wanted to tear it, but had given up at the last moment. Sarah never went camping alone after that day. And when she shared her story, several park rangers told her something strange. In Glacier Park, especially in the Many Glacier area, similar reports had been coming in for years. People were hearing strange sounds at night, feeling like their names were being called. And some campers found the same dead grass circles next to their tents in the morning. The local Blackfeet natives call this area the walking grounds of the Wendigo. The Wendigo, according to legends, is a terrifying creature that eats human flesh and walks at night. It can mimic people's voices to trick them and can change its appearance. Was what happened to Sarah a real Wendigo encounter? Or is there something else in Montana's desolate mountains that we haven't discovered yet? We'll never know for certain, but Sarah is sure of one thing: whatever was outside her tent that night wasn't human. The Curse of Bannack Ghost Town. Montana has many abandoned ghost towns, but none are as famous and cursed as Bannack. Founded in the 1860s, after gold was discovered, this town once housed 10,000 people. Now it's completely abandoned, standing only with its decaying buildings and dark history. In October 2017, 4 college students from Michigan, Jake, Emma, Tyler, and Madison, decided to come to Montana for a fall vacation. Interested in paranormal events, this young group wanted to visit Bannack and stay there overnight. They had obtained legal permission, but park rangers warned them, don't stay there at night, especially not in Hotel Meade. Of course, the 4 brave young people didn't listen to this warning. Hotel Meade was one of Bannack's largest structures, a 2-story wooden building. Built in the late 1800s, it had witnessed countless deaths since then. According to local legends, the hotel owner had lost his daughter there, and since that day, the little girl's spirit had been wandering the building. Jake and his friends entered the hotel at 8 p.m., armed with cameras, flashlights, and courageous hearts. The first few hours were fun. They explored empty rooms, took old photographs, and started a live stream where they told ghost stories. But as midnight approached, the atmosphere changed. Emma found an old doll in a room on the 2nd floor. The doll was sitting in the corner of the room as if someone had carefully placed it there. As Emma picked up the doll and showed it to the camera, Tyler's face went white. "Emma, that doll wasn't there just now. I checked this room 10 minutes ago. It definitely wasn't there." The group looked at each other. Maybe someone was playing a prank, they thought. But they'd all been downstairs together. No one had gone upstairs. Jake said, "Relax, we probably just missed it before." But the trembling in his voice gave him away. They put the doll back and went downstairs. They decided to end the live stream because the internet connection was weak. But when Madison checked her phone, hundreds of comments had come in from the live stream. And the comments were horrifying. "There's someone at the window behind you. A shadow moved on the 2nd floor. Who is that little girl?" Madison broke into a cold sweat. "Guys, viewers are saying they saw a little girl on the 2nd floor." "What?" Emma's voice was shaking. "But we were all together. There's no one upstairs." Tyler said bravely, "Let's go check." But when he looked at his friends' faces, he realized no one actually wanted to go upstairs. Just then, a sound came from the 2nd floor. A rolling sound, as if something was rolling down the stairs. The 4 friends froze and looked at the stairs. What was rolling down was the toy doll. Emma screamed. Jake pointed his flashlight at the doll. The doll was now at their feet, staring at them with empty eyes. "This is impossible," Jake whispered. "We put that doll in the room on the 2nd floor. How could it roll down the stairs?" But the worst didn't happen then. The worst was what Madison heard. From upstairs, from the 2nd floor, came the voice of a little girl. "Give me back my doll." The voice was so clear, so distinct that they all heard it. And then footsteps, small steps, as if a child were slowly walking toward the stairs. The 4 didn't wait any longer. They ran to the door. But the door wouldn't open. Jake pulled with all his might. Tyler helped, but the door seemed locked. Locked from the inside. No, Emma was panicking. "We have to get out of here." The footsteps were getting closer. At the top of the stairs, in the darkness, a small silhouette appeared. A little girl wearing a white dress. Her face wasn't visible, but her posture was unnatural. Too still, too motionless. Madison tried to get out through the window, but the windows were boarded up. They were all cornered. The little girl slowly began descending the stairs, and with each step she took, the hotel groaned. Wooden creaks, squeaks, as if the building were alive. Jake, in one last effort, grabbed an old chair next to the door and hurled it at the window. The glass shattered. The four friends, without thinking, jumped out through the broken glass. They rolled on the ground, got cuts, but didn't care. They ran to the car and drove away from Bannack without ever looking back. In the morning, they went to the police and told them what happened. The officers listened, but did they believe them? Not really. When staff checked the hotel, they found the broken window, but nothing else. No toy doll, no footprints, nothing. But when Jake checked the videos on his phone, he was horrified. In the live stream recording, what Madison had said was clearly visible. At a second-floor window, a little girl in a white dress was watching them. And in the video, at the moment the doll rolled down the stairs, in the background, upstairs, that little girl's shadow was moving. Jake shared the video on social media, and it went viral. Paranormal investigators flocked to Bannack, but no one had an experience as intense as what Jake and his friends experienced that night. Hotel Mead is still standing, and local people still give the same warning. Don't stay there at night, because the little girl is still looking for her doll, and if you take it, she wants it back. And if you're enjoying these stories, don't forget to like the video. Now we're moving on to perhaps Montana's most disturbing story. In the far northwestern corner of Montana, very close to the Canadian border, lies Yaak Valley, one of the most isolated places in the world. The population is only around 150, and the nearest town is 60 miles away. This is a place completely cut off from modern civilization. Most homes don't even have electricity. People live on generators. In December 2018, a 34-year-old software engineer named David Thornton decided to get away from his life for a while. He wanted to escape his stressful job in San Francisco, from technology, from everything. A friend found him a small cabin for rent in Yaak Valley, the perfect escape. David set off on December 15th. He told his family he'd be gone for 2 weeks, that his phone wouldn't have service, but they shouldn't worry. The cabin would have a satellite phone for emergencies. The cabin was truly isolated. The nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. David spent his first day unpacking and chopping wood. He ate dinner, wrote in his journal, and went to bed early. Everything was normal. On the second day, when David woke up in the morning, he noticed something strange. In front of his door, in the snow, there were footprints. But these weren't normal footprints. They were very large, and they were bare footprints. In December, in Montana, at minus 15 degrees, someone had stood barefoot in front of his door. David looked around but couldn't see anyone. He thought maybe it could be an animal, but these were clearly human footprints, just very, very large. He felt uneasy all day. He kept looking out the windows, checking if there was anything outside. When evening came, he checked all the windows and doors twice. He sat by the fireplace and tried to read a book, but he couldn't concentrate. Close to midnight, David went to bed to sleep. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he heard a sound from outside. Someone was knocking on the window. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, steady knocks. David jumped out of bed with his heart pounding. He walked toward the window but couldn't see anything through the darkness. He only saw his own reflection. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer. Knock, knock, knock. This time from another window. David ran in that direction. Again, nothing. And then the knocking started. From every window, all at once. Knock, 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 knock. As if someone, or something, was running around the cabin, hitting every window simultaneously. This was physically impossible, but it was happening. David grabbed the satellite phone, but it wasn't working. The battery was full, but there was no signal. No signal at all. The knocking stopped. There was silence. David stood by the fireplace, breathless, gripping the wood axe he'd grabbed tightly. And then the worst thing happened. The front door opened. David was sure he'd locked the door. He'd checked twice, but the door was slowly, creakily opening. "Whoever's there, I'm armed!" David shouted. He didn't actually have a gun, but he didn't know what else to do. The door opened completely, but there was no one outside. Just the dark, cold night and snow. David approached the door to close it, but then he saw something outside. In the snowy field, about 50 meters from the cabin, a figure was standing. Very tall, abnormally tall, and completely motionless. It was just standing there, looking at him. David slammed the door shut and locked it. He gripped the wood axe tightly and looked out the window. The figure was still there. It wasn't moving, like a tree, completely frozen. David didn't sleep all night. He sat by the fireplace until morning with the axe. And the strange thing was, that figure stayed there all night. It never moved. It just waited. When morning came, as the sun began to rise, David dared to look outside. The figure was gone, but there were tracks in the snow, and the tracks came toward the cabin, right up to the door, as if that thing had slowly approached the cabin during the night and stopped right in front of the door. David realized he couldn't stay any longer. He packed his things and wanted to leave immediately. But just as he was about to get in his car, he noticed something. His car tires were deflated, all 4 of them, and the hood was open. The battery had been removed. David was truly panicking now. He decided to walk to the nearest neighbor. It was 5 miles away, but he had no other choice. He put on his coat, grabbed his backpack, and started walking. Along the way, he looked back several times, and each time, in the distance, among the trees, he saw that tall figure. It was following him, but it never got closer. It just watched him from a certain distance. The faster David walked, the faster the figure moved. When he started running, the figure ran too, but still didn't get closer, as if it were playing a game. Around 2 p.m., David finally reached the neighbor's cabin. He knocked on the door frantically. An old man named Tom opened the door. "Help! Someone's following me!" David shouted. Tom looked outside. "Son, there's no one out there." David turned and looked. Tom was right. The figure was gone. There was nothing among the trees. David went inside and told the whole story. Tom listened carefully and finally took a deep breath. "Son, you saw the tall man," he said quietly. "The tall man? What's that?" Tom told him. In Yaak Valley, there had been a legend for years, the tall man, a very tall being that resembled a human but wasn't human. It appeared in winter, especially to people who were alone. It watched them, followed them, scared them, but never touched them. It just watched until the person went insane. Some people were never the same after seeing him, Tom said. A few years ago, a woman had seen him. She kept saying she was being followed, but no one believed her. Eventually, she hurt herself. David's blood ran cold. "So, what should I do? How can I get away from it?" Tom shrugged. "Some say you need to leave this place, but others say it chooses you. And if it chooses you, wherever you go, it will find you." David stayed at Tom's house that night. The next day, Tom drove him to town. David immediately bought a plane ticket and returned to San Francisco. But the story doesn't end here. After David returned home, he started experiencing strange things. At night, he saw strange shadows through the windows. In the mornings, he'd find strange marks in front of his door with no traces. And worst of all, in his dreams, he constantly saw that tall figure, standing in the forest, looking at him. David started seeing a therapist. He was diagnosed with PTSD. But David knew it wasn't PTSD. This was something else. 6 months later, David's family started to worry. David's house hadn't been cleaned in days. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't gone to work. When they knocked on his door, he didn't answer. They called the police. When the police broke down the door, they found David in the living room. sitting on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, rocking back and forth. The walls of the room were completely covered with scribbles. He'd written the same thing over and over. He's here. He's watching me. He won't leave. He won't leave. He won't leave. And the most disturbing part was the photos David had taken. There were hundreds of photos on his phone, taken from outside his window, and in most of the photos, in the distance, at the end of the street, a very tall figure was standing. David was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. He's still there today. He doesn't talk, he just looks out the window, as if waiting. As if waiting for something to come. And hospital staff noticed something strange. Some nights, outside David's window, 7 floors up, large footprints would be found in the sand. Bare footprints. But no one could explain how they got to the 7th floor. If you enjoy these true horror stories and want to see more, please hit the like button. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because every week I bring you new, spine-chilling stories. Montana is a vast and beautiful state, but some places, some nights, are far from beautiful. Yak Valley is still there. Rental cabins are still available. And who knows, maybe one day you'll find yourself in those places. If that happens, here's some advice. If you look out the window at night and see a very tall figure, don't open the door. Don't go outside. And most importantly, don't invite eye contact with it. Because if it chooses you, you may never be yourself again. All 3 of these stories show Montana's dark side. The Wendigo in Glacier Park, the Ghost Girl in Bannack, and the Tall Man in Yak Valley. They're all different, but they all have one thing in common. There are people who claim they're real, and these people don't seem to be lying. Maybe Montana's big sky country nickname isn't just about beautiful scenery. Maybe under that big sky, things are living that we don't know about, that we don't understand. Maybe in some places, the line between nature and the supernatural is so thin that crossing from one to the other is very easy. Or maybe, just maybe, all of this is the mind's tricks. Loneliness, darkness, and isolation can cause people to see strange things. But then, how do we explain the claw marks on Sarah's tent? How do we explain that little girl in Jake's video? How do we explain the footprints on the 7th floor of David's hospital? I don't know the answer either, but I know one thing. While researching these stories, while preparing this video, I had to look over my shoulder several times, because there's something about these stories. There's a reality to them, and that reality is disturbing. Montana is still there, with its mountains, forests, and desolate valleys. And if you ever decide to go there, please be careful, especially at night. Especially if you're alone. Because in Montana, in the darkness, there might be things waiting for you. And now I want to ask you a question. Do you believe these stories? Or are they all just very well-told urban legends? Write your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you've had paranormal experiences in Montana or somewhere else too. Share them, I'm curious. By the way, if you want to see more content like this, tell me which state or region you'd like me to research. There are so many dark stories in America, and I want to share them all with you. And one last note, if you're really planning to visit Montana and want to visit the places mentioned in these stories, please stay safe. Follow park rules, go in groups, and always let someone know where you are, because Montana can be as dangerous as it is beautiful. Wild animals, extreme weather conditions, and yes, maybe other things. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to stay updated on new videos, and share your thoughts in the comments. You've listened to 2 terrifying stories so far, but now I'm going to tell you Montana's perhaps most mysterious and most disturbing story. Are you ready? Because this story is very different from the others. This story is still ongoing. Horror lovers, take your seats. Beartooth Highway, stretching between Montana and Wyoming, is known as one of America's most beautiful and most dangerous roads. At 11,000 feet elevation, sharp curves, cliffs, and breathtaking views. But some people say this road isn't just dangerous, it's cursed.
In August 2021, a couple named Jennifer and Mark Kowalski were on a road trip from Colorado to Montana. They'd been married for 6 years, and this was their anniversary vacation. Jennifer was 32, Mark was 35. Both were experienced drivers and loved road trips. On the morning of August 12th, at 9 a.m., they entered Beartooth Highway from Red Lodge. The weather was perfect, sunny, clear skies, visibility for miles. Jennifer sat in the passenger seat, photographing the scenery. Mark drove carefully. Around 9:45 a.m., they reached one of the highest points on the road. Mark pulled the car over to take photos. There were no other cars around. They were completely alone. Both got out of the car, took a few selfies, and enjoyed the view. Everything was normal. "Let's go, Mark. I want to get to Cook City for lunch." They got in the car and continued on. But about 10 minutes later, Jennifer noticed something strange. "Mark, didn't we just pass this road?" Mark looked around. "What do you mean?" "This rock formation. I photographed this earlier, I'm sure of it." Mark stopped and checked the map. The GPS wasn't working. No signal, which was normal. According to the map, they were on the right road. "Honey, the rocks probably just look similar. Let's keep going." Jennifer wasn't comfortable, but she didn't object. They continued. But 15 minutes later, the same thing happened again. Jennifer was certain they were seeing the same place. The same rock, the same tree, the same view. "Mark, stop. Something's wrong. We're going in circles. We keep passing the same road over and over." Mark stopped this time and seriously looked around. And then he noticed it too. Jennifer was right. This was the same place. Even the mile marker was the same. Mile 65. And they had passed mile 65 20 minutes ago. "This is impossible," Mark said. "We went straight ahead. We never turned back, never took a side road." But the truth was obvious. Somehow, inexplicably, they had returned to the same place. "Maybe we should fix the GPS," Jennifer said, her voice trembling. "Or maybe we should just keep going. We'll get out of here eventually." Mark hit the gas. This time he went faster. He carefully followed the road, noting every turn. 20 minutes passed, and then mile 65. This same place again. "No," Jennifer screamed. "This can't be. This doesn't make sense." Mark was panicking now, too. He stopped the car and got out. He shouted around, "Hey, is anyone there? Help!" Silence. Only the sound of the wind. In Montana's high mountains, in all that vast terrain, only they were there. And somehow, they were stuck in a loop. Jennifer started crying. "I want to go home. Please, get us out of here." Mark got back in the car. "Okay, I'm going to try something new. This time, we'll go back. Maybe if we return the way we came, we can get out of here." He turned the car around and started going back. But about 10 minutes later, mile 65 again. This time, from the direction they came back from. Mark punched the steering wheel. "What does this mean? How can this be?" Jennifer reached for her phone. Maybe she could make an emergency call, but the phone showed no signal at all. Only something strange at the top of the screen. The time. The time was stuck at 9:47. It wasn't moving. "Mark, the clock stopped." Mark looked at his own phone. Same thing, 9:47. But they'd been on the road for at least an hour, maybe more. The car's digital clock showed the same thing, 9:47. "Did time stop?" Jennifer whispered. "Or are we somewhere different?" Mark took a deep breath. He was trying to calm down, but couldn't. "I don't know, but we're not staying here. We'll try again." They set off once more. This time, Mark went very slowly. He watched every detail, every curve, every rock, everything. And just then, about 10 minutes later, Jennifer saw something. "Mark, stop, there's someone there." On the side of the road, among the rocks, a man was standing. Elderly, wearing jeans and a leather jacket. He was waving at them. Mark stopped the car. Jennifer rolled down the window. Excuse me, we're lost. We need help." The man slowly approached the car. His face was wrinkled, his hair white. His eyes were strangely empty, as if they were soulless. "You're not lost," the man said in a low voice. "You're just chosen." "What?" Mark was confused. "What do you mean?" The man came even closer to the car. Now he was next to Mark's window. And looking closely, Jennifer noticed something. The man's clothes looked old, very old, like from the 70s or 80s. "This road," the man said, "sometimes chooses people, pulls them out of time, traps them in a loop. I've been here too, since 1987. Jennifer's blood ran cold. What are you saying?" "In July 1987, my wife and I were passing through this road, just like you. And then we got lost, going around in the same place. Hours passed. Days passed. Or maybe they didn't. Time doesn't work here." Mark couldn't believe it. You've been here for 34 years?" The man nodded sadly. "My wife, she couldn't take it. A few years later, she took her own life. But me, I'm still here, still in the same loop, still on the same road." Jennifer wanted to scream, but no sound came out. This couldn't be real. It felt like a nightmare. "So, how can we get out? There must be a way to escape from here." The man thought. "Some people managed to escape, but I don't know how. One day they suddenly disappear. Maybe time sends them back, or maybe they died. I don't know." "Don't you have a theory?" Jennifer asked desperately. The man stepped away from the car. "All I know is this road has a reason, a purpose, and if you fulfill that purpose, maybe you'll be set free." "What purpose?" Mark shouted. But the man was gone, as if he'd vanished into thin air, among the rocks. No trace.
Jennifer and Mark looked at each other in shock. Was he real?" Jennifer whispered. "I don't know, but I know one thing. We're not staying here. We're not staying here for 34 years." They set off again. This time, Jennifer carefully watched the surroundings. "He said a purpose. The road has a purpose. What could that mean?" Mark thought. Maybe we're missing something. Maybe the road is trying to show us something. Or maybe, Jennifer said, we have to make a choice. Just then, something appeared ahead on the road. A fork. 2 roads. But this wasn't there before. Mark was sure there was no such fork on the map. "This is impossible," Mark said. "This just appeared." There were 2 roads. One went left, the other right. On the left was a sign, "Stay." On the right, another sign, "Go." "What does this mean?" Jennifer asked fearfully. Mark stopped the car. He had to think. Stay and go. A choice. The road's purpose. Maybe this was it. Making a choice. "What happens if we choose stay?" Jennifer asked. "Maybe we stay here. Forever. Like that man." "What about go?" "I don't know. Maybe we go home? Or maybe we go somewhere else." Jennifer looked at Mark. "What do you want?" Mark took a deep breath. "I want to go home. With you. I want to return to our normal life." "Then go." Mark hit the gas and turned right onto the go road. The road narrowed, the trees thickened, and then a tunnel. A dark tunnel. There was no such tunnel on Beartooth Highway, but now it was there. Should we go in? Jennifer hesitated. Do we have any other choice? They entered the tunnel. Inside was completely dark. Even the headlights didn't illuminate enough. They could only go forward. The tunnel seemed to continue forever. And then, suddenly, light. Bright, white light. Mark squinted. Jennifer buried her head in her hands. A second later, the light disappeared, and they were in the middle of the road. But this time it was different. There were other cars. There were people. Everything was normal. Mark pulled the car over. His hands were shaking. We got out, right? Jennifer looked at her phone. The clock was working. 2:34 p.m. The date? August 12th. The same day. But how? They'd been in that loop for hours. Mark, look, it's 2:34. We reached that place at 9:45 in the morning, so only 5 hours passed? But we went through that loop at least 10 times, each one 20 minutes. That's 3 hours. But the time. They were trying to understand but couldn't. Time had returned to its normal flow, but they couldn't know for certain how long they'd been in that loop. A pickup truck pulled up next to them. The man inside rolled down the window. Hey, are you okay? Is there a problem? Mark forced a smile. We're fine, thanks. Just taking a break. The man nodded and left. Everything was normal. The world was turning. People were continuing their lives, as if nothing had happened.
Jennifer started crying, but this time they were tears of happiness. We escaped! We really escaped! Mark hugged her. Yes, we escaped. But this story doesn't end here. After that day, Jennifer and Mark decided to research Beartooth Highway, and they found surprising things. Over the years, there had been people who disappeared on that road. In 1987, a couple disappeared. They were never found. In 1995, a lone man. In 2003, a family. In 2012, 2 friends. Some were found days, weeks later, on the same road, confused, not knowing how much time had passed. Some were never found. And the strangest part was the photos Jennifer had taken. That morning, before entering the tunnel, there were dozens of photos on her phone, but they were all corrupted. Static, noise, broken pixels. Only one photo looked normal. And in that photo, in the background, far away, there was a figure, a tall figure, and its face. It had no face, just emptiness. When Jennifer saw that photo, she dropped her phone. Mark, look, that figure, it was there throughout our entire journey. It was watching us. Mark looked at the photo and his hair stood on end because he remembered that figure. While in the loop, several times, in the distance, among the trees, he'd seen something. But he hadn't told Jennifer. He didn't want to scare her more. What is that? Jennifer whispered. I don't know, but it let us go. That's enough now. Jennifer and Mark never went to Beartooth Highway again after that day. In fact, they never went to Montana again. But sometimes at night, they both have the same dream. On that road, in that loop, driving forever, and in the back seat, that tall figure is sitting, silently, as if waiting. These are Montana's 3 terrifying stories: the Wendigo in Glacier Park, the Ghost Girl in Bannack, and the Time Loop on Beartooth Highway. 3 different stories, 3 different fears, but they all have one thing in common: events that real people claim happened to them. So, should we believe them? Science tells us time loops are impossible, tells us ghosts aren't real, tells us creatures like the Wendigo are just legends. But then, why would these people lie? What would they gain? Most don't even want to give their names. They just want to tell their stories and be forgotten. Maybe the truth is this. In the world, especially in isolated places like Montana, things are happening that we don't understand. Maybe not supernatural, maybe just natural, but phenomena we don't know about yet. Or maybe, just maybe, some places really are cursed. Some places aren't for us. If you're going to Montana, be careful. Don't camp alone in Glacier Park. Don't stay in Bannack at night. And on Beartooth Highway, if you see something strange, just drive and don't look back. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more horror stories, please don't forget to subscribe. Every week, I bring you the scariest stories from America's darkest corners. And in the comments, tell me which state or city you'd like me to research. Maybe your story could be in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep the lights on and stay safe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. May you have the most thrilling nights.